I hope you are doing well. My name is Holly. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it so much. This is part 2 of the Naomi Irion case. A predator was lurking. If you haven't listened to part 1, go back and listen to that first. And thanks again for being here. And please help me out in my channel by hitting the subscribe and the like button. Now, let me tell you a true crime story. So where we left off in part 1, a clandestine gravesite had been discovered at the Buena Vista iron mine. Troy Driver had been at that mine to accept delivery of an excavator in February of 2022, a month before Naomi's abduction. Naomi's naked body was recovered from that grave, buried about 4 to 5 feet deep. There were excavator shovel marks within the grave indicating that it had been dug with the machine. Also at the gravesite were excavator track marks and tire impressions from Naomi's car and from the original tires that had been on Troy Driver's Chevy truck before he'd had them replaced. I also told you about the DNA results taken from biological evidence collected during Naomi's autopsy and of the charges that were brought against Troy Driver. Now, let's pick up from there. Investigators found that Troy Driver was in a serious dating relationship with a woman and that they lived together. His girlfriend cooperated with investigators and provided them with crucial information in this case. She also provided them with valuable insight into Troy Driver's mindset and habits. She told investigators that he was infatuated with serial killers and he was constantly reading books and listening to podcasts about them. She said he'd recently been questioning her daughter about the shuttle bus that picks up workers at the Walmart in Fernley and transports them to work at Panasonic and Tesla. He asked her daughter things like how many people rode the bus and the locations of the stops it made. Troy Driver's girlfriend also told investigators that he'd gone solo camping that weekend of March 12, 2022. She said he'd left the house on the evening of Friday, March 11th, and had returned the next night. She reported that he did not take his cell phones with him on this camping trip, which she said was the norm for him when he goes solo camping. Troy Driver's girlfriend and Ledcor, the company he worked for, were both able to confirm for detectives that he had been operating an excavator at the Buena Vista iron mine on February 14th, 2022, a month before the kidnapping and murder of Naomi Irion. His girlfriend provided a picture of the excavator at the iron mine that he'd texted to her that day. Troy Driver had been using the excavator to dig sample holes on the southern boundary of the mine, but the investigation uncovered that after the other employees that had been working at the mine site left that day, he used the machine to dig a grave on the north side of the mine a long distance away from the sample holes. Again, this was 1 month before Naomi was abducted and murdered. Authorities said in a press conference in mid-August of 2023 that this gravesite was, quote-unquote, dug with absolute premeditation.
Detectives also confirmed with Ledcor the driver had been working at the Buena Vista iron mine on February 14, 2022. Driver had been the operator of the excavator and had been digging sample holes on the southern boundary of the mine. Evidence showed that when the other employees working at the mine site that day had left, Driver used the excavator to dig a grave on the north side of the mine site. The grave had been dug a long distance from the sample holes, which shows that the grave site was dug with absolute premeditation almost a month before the crime.
The investigation into the abduction, SA, and murder of Naomi Irion did not reveal any connection between Troy Driver and Naomi. Instead, it showed that on March 11th and March 12th of 2022, Troy Driver prepared for and hunted a random victim to SA and murder. He had the location of the kill site in mind, which was the abandoned mine and a pre-dug grave ready to go. Detectives believe that he left his home on the evening of March 11th and drove his truck to the Buena Vista iron mine to ensure the mine was still abandoned and to make final preparations. Because he'd recently worked there, he knew the combination to the locked gate, which gave him access to the site. After making these final preparations, as Friday night, March 11th, stretched into the early morning hours of Saturday, March 12th, Troy Driver made his way to the Fernley Walmart, which was his chosen kidnapping location. Detectives believed that he chose this location because it was dark and secluded, and there was a high probability of finding a young woman by herself in a vehicle there. When he parked his truck in the dirt lot near the Walmart parking lot, it was 4:22 a.m. He then waited and watched. Detectives theorized he observed Naomi arrive in the Walmart parking lot and saw that she was young and alone.
The surveillance footage showed that on March 12, 2022, at approximately 0509 hours, Naomi drove into the Fernley Walmart parking lot in her Mercury Sable. Naomi parked her vehicle in the parking lot on the east side of the building. Naomi was seated in the driver's seat of her vehicle while waiting for the shuttle bus.
He stalked her for a few minutes, then approached her car on the driver's side and likely brandished a weapon to quickly gain control of Naomi. He made her scoot over to the passenger seat, and he drove her out of the Walmart parking lot.
As Naomi was seated in her vehicle, a male subject was observed actively stalking Naomi's vehicle. The male subject eventually approached the driver's side of Naomi's vehicle. The suspect opened the driver's side door of Naomi's vehicle and got into the car. Seconds later, Naomi's vehicle was driven by the unknown suspect out of the Walmart parking lot. Naomi was not seen again, and her vehicle was not located until several days later.
Shortly after that, Troy Driver broke or somehow disabled her cell phone because her cell phone was never used again after 5:23 a.m. He then drove Naomi in her car to the Buena Vista iron mine, which was about a 2-hour drive from Walmart, where he SA'd her, murdered her, and buried her. Troy Driver then burned all of the clothes that Naomi had been wearing, along with some of his clothing and other physical evidence. He returned to Fernley in Naomi's car and abandoned it just a half a mile away from Walmart in the dirt lot between the Lowe's and the Sherwin-Williams factory, before walking back to his truck that he'd left in the dirt parking lot by Walmart. On March 25, 2022, Troy Driver was arrested and booked into the Lyon County Jail in Yerington, Nevada. On March 31, 2022, a mental health assessment team made contact with him, and he refused their services. Almost 5 months later, in August of 2022, Troy Driver had a fellow inmate who got released sneak a S/confession letter out of the jail in a deck of playing cards and hand deliver it to his now ex-girlfriend. In the letter, Troy Driver told her that nothing he did was sexually motivated. Some other things he said in it were that there had always been a terrible darkness inside of him. He intended on killing himself rather than exposing his loved ones to what he'd done. The guilt he felt was crushing. Troy Driver's girlfriend immediately turned the letter over to authorities, who then placed him on S watch. On August 18, 2022, Troy Driver met with the psychiatric nurse, and he adamantly denied wanting to harm himself. He admitted to writing the letter, but he said he wanted to be housed in a normal cell in the maximum security housing unit. The next day, he again met with the psychiatric nurse, and again he denied wanting to hurt himself. The nurse moved him from mental health observation and discharged him into the maximum security housing unit of the Lyon County Jail. On August 20th, 2022, Troy Driver attempted S. He said he was overcome with guilt due to his family having to deal with his incarceration. 2 days later, though, he told the psychiatric nurse that he was not thinking of harming himself. After that, he had multiple meetings with medical staff until his next S attempt about 5 months later on March 7th of 2023. He was treated for lacerations on his wrist. On April 20th, 2023, Troy Driver expressed frustration with being in isolation, and he denied wanting to harm himself. He again made the claim that he was sleep deprived from being checked on so often by deputies. During that month, April of 2023, Troy Driver was seen by medical staff on 7 other occasions with nothing remarkable to report. On May 4th and May 6th, Troy Driver was seen by medical staff. He was reported as being healthy and working out daily. On June 3rd, 2023, Troy Driver met with the psychiatric nurse and was discharged from his isolation cell. The next day, he was returned to the maximum security housing unit. Between June 4th and August 6th, he showed no signs of being in a depressed state, having S intentions, or that he was experiencing a mental health crisis. On August 6th, 2023 at 5:22 p.m., Lyon County Detention deputies completed a check of the maximum security cell block where Troy Driver was housed. At that time, Troy Driver was in his cell drinking water. At 6:17 p.m., so about an hour later, Lyon County Detention deputies began cell checks again in the maximum security housing unit and discovered Troy Driver in his cell. Detention staff cut him down and performed CPR on him until medical personnel arrived from the Mason Valley Fire Department at approximately 6:33 p.m. and took over life-saving measures. Troy Driver could not be revived, and he was pronounced at 6:49 p.m. That evening, District Attorney Steve Ryan spoke to Naomi's older brother, Casey Valley, to inform him that Troy Driver had killed himself. Just as Troy Driver had carefully planned the murder of a random young woman, he'd carefully planned his S. Authorities said in a press conference that he demonstrated careful planning of his S because they discovered that he kept meticulous notes on the day-to-day activities within the jail so that he would be able to complete the act within the narrow window of time that he was not observed by jail staff. In putting together the facts of this case, I relied heavily on the detailed synopsis and timeline of Naomi's murder investigation that was provided by authorities in a press conference in August of 2023, a week or so after Troy Driver took his life. Authorities stated in that press conference that Naomi's body was recovered from a location that Troy Driver had access to, and after reviewing the totality of the evidence, they are confident that Troy Driver acted alone and that he is the person responsible for the SA and murder of Naomi Irion. Sheriff Brad Pope described the evidence against Troy Driver as insurmountable. Authorities stated in that press conference that his S was not the closure that Naomi's family deserved or what law enforcement wanted, and they didn't want the truth of his guilt to die with his S. They created the detailed synopsis and visual presentation to present at the press conference in an effort to convey transparency with regard to the investigation and to bring a sense of closure to Naomi's family so that the family could begin to heal and deal with their tremendous loss. Naomi Christine Irion was born in Houston, Texas on July 25, 2003. She was one of 7 kids born to her mom, Diana Irion. Diana describes Naomi as her miracle baby. She said she'd help to heal their family by bringing back their joy and laughter. You see, her mom had lost a baby the year before Naomi was born. Diana said Naomi was also the glue that joined their blended family together. Naomi's mom also said that Naomi cared deeply about others and the underprivileged. She wanted to make the world a better place. She helped those that were weaker than her. She spoke out against injustice. She was a bright light to all around her. Naomi loved rainbows. She enjoyed rock hounding. She liked hanging out with her friends and scrolling on some of her favorite apps such as TikTok and Instagram. Part 1, in the previous part of this story, I told you about a GoFundMe that had been set up in this case. Initially, it had been established to help Naomi's family members pay for travel to Nevada from where they lived in South Africa and Texas. Well, the GoFundMe received 600 donations totaling over $48,000. And when it turned out that Naomi was no longer with us, the funds went to cover the cost of her memorial. The year before her murder, Naomi had attended her senior gala along with her classmates in order to celebrate their graduation. Well, before that important occasion, she had to find a dress to wear to the formal event. Because of her size, a store clerk said Naomi's only option was to have one custom made. So Naomi chose a silky dark blue floor-length dress with sequins and spaghetti straps. When the dress was ready, Naomi and her mom went to pick it up. It was sparkly and stunning. Naomi tried it on and looked in the mirror. She covered her face with her hands as her shoulders shook. When her mom asked her what was wrong, Naomi let her hands down and said, quote, "I feel beautiful for the first time in my life." End quote. On April 12, 2022, Naomi Christine Irion was buried in that dress. Diana, Naomi's mom, has a YouTube channel called The Wandering Sewist. Sewist as in Sewist. She sews. There she has a beautiful tribute video to her daughter, Naomi. This is just a short snippet from that tribute video that Naomi's mom posted on her YouTube channel in loving memory of her daughter, Naomi Irion. And I had to remove the song that was in the background due to copyright infringement on YouTube. I'm going to read you a Facebook post that was made by Casey Valley, Naomi's older brother that she lived with in Nevada. This post was made on April 1st of 2022, a few days after Naomi's body was discovered. Quote, "The reason we wanted to push the Trust the Family hashtag is because I called in Naomi as a missing person Sunday 3/13 at approximately 9:30 p.m. The deputy never came. He only called me at 11:23 p.m. He filed no missing persons report until 3:14 at around 9 p.m. after I went and found that footage myself. I wasn't alone doing that. My girlfriend was with me and urged me to go. Naomi's car wasn't found until 36 hours after I made the initial call, and it was under a half a mile away in clear view of the interstate. I cannot stress enough how important the handling of this case was in the beginning for my sister's life. If this deputy had followed the Lyon County Sheriff's Office procedure, as he is sworn to do, a BOLO, be on the lookout, and a missing persons report would have been filed as soon as I had called on that Sunday. But he didn't, because he didn't hashtag trust the family," end quote. The footage he's referring to in that Facebook post is, of course, the surveillance footage that became critical in this case, the video that shows Naomi's abduction from the Walmart parking lot. When Naomi didn't come home, her brother, Casey Valley, went to Walmart and spoke with their security there. They viewed the Walmart security footage, and sadly, he had to witness Troy Driver entering his little sister's car and taking her away. About that video, Casey said, quote, "It ruined me. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was looking at. You know, I didn't want to believe it," end quote. He said it was sickening. His heart leaped out of his chest and his blood ran cold. Everyone in this true crime community, and especially law enforcement, knows that a timely response is critical in a missing persons investigation, particularly when the missing person is a young woman and the primary motive is most likely SA. The initial hours are crucial because statistics tell us that most young victims kidnapped by a stranger are murdered within 3 hours, and within 24 hours, almost 90% have been murdered. So the family is promoting the Trust the Family hashtag to emphasize how important it is for authorities to listen to the family members of a missing person. They know that person best. They know what is normal and what is out of the norm for their family member. I noticed something during my research that I just wanted to mention really quickly. In a mugshot of Troy Driver from years ago, his ears were normal, unremarkable. But in his mugshots from 2022, he's missing half of his left ear. I wonder if it happened in a workplace accident or something more sinister. It crossed my mind that maybe someone bit his ear off in self-defense. Did he attack someone and that victim bit his ear? I looked and looked online and could not find anything about how he lost a big chunk of his ear. If you guys happen to find out what happened to it, please let me know. I would like to know. Another thing that gave me pause, remember this earlier in the story, I said that Troy Driver's girlfriend told police that he'd left on Friday night, March 11th, the night before Naomi was taken. She said he'd told her that he was going solo camping and that he'd left his cell phones behind. She said that was normal behavior for him not to take his cell phones with him when he went camping. That gave me chills and made me think, are there other victims out there? I mean, you would think that if you go camping by yourself, you would take your cell phone with you just in case something happened and you needed to summon help. If you want to be connected to nature while you're camping and disconnect from your cell phone, I can totally get that, but I mean, that's plausible, but it seems like you would still take it with you just in case of an emergency. What if your car like broke down or something? I mean, you could just leave it off and keep it in your vehicle or in your bag just in case. So he went quote unquote solo camping before in the past and left his cell phones behind. That's really creepy to me. I don't know. What do you guys think? Thank you again for being here. Thank you for listening to this story. Sweet Naomi Irion should still be here. And I feel so bad that she didn't get to live her life, that it was just snuffed out so senselessly and selfishly. I feel so bad for her family. Please subscribe to my channel and like this video if you like the way I delivered this case. And just thanks for being here. I love you guys lots. I hope that you and your family are happy, healthy, and together forever. Please join me next time when I'll tell you another true crime story. Big, big hugs to all of you. Bye-bye.
Hello everyone. This video is about just saying thank you to the community, and I'm here with my sister Tammy. We're so thankful to everyone in this community here in Fernley, and we're so touched. Everybody coming out today to help with the search, and then the employees at Rayleigh's, they wouldn't let us pay for our groceries, and then we came home to this. We came home to this lovely meal, this care basket, and this beautiful card. And honestly, we're overwhelmed with thankfulness right now, and we thank God for the Fernley community and everyone around the entire northern Nevada area and all over neighboring states that are helping us, and the women in this community of Fernley especially have just taken. I've never imagined that a community could be like this before, and I never felt like I was part of the Fernley community before, and well, I am now, and I just don't know how to thank everyone, and just thank you guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Honestly, I just can't believe that we live in a world where you can have this much kindness and loving and everything, and yet there's people out there that will do like what's happened to Naomi, and just thank you everyone.